Hello, friends, welcome. Friends, have you ever wondered why phones stop at two SIMs? Why can't there be multiple SIMs? Because I have been experiencing this problem because I have to carry two phones. Because if you have multiple bank accounts which you are managing, nowadays, if you go to ICICI Bank, for every account, they will ask you to have a new phone number. So you have to have multiple phones in order to manage your bank accounts. Sometimes you are managing your wife's account, sometimes you are managing your son's account, daughter's account, and you actually have to carry multiple phones. Now, if you carry multiple phones, it becomes very, very difficult. So I was wondering, and you might be also wondering, then why we stop at two SIMs? If my phone had multiple SIMs, because today we have got this eSIM, then it is possible to have four connections in one single phone, five connections in one single phone. Then you don't have to carry multiple phones. So I think the viewers who are watching me must be wondering that why we are stopping at two SIMs. And today's video is going to answer this specific question, that why can't we have multiple SIMs? Okay, so watch till the end and you will find this video pretty interesting. So the role of SIM. What is SIM? SIM is phone's identity card on the network. Means it is identifying the subscriber. It's subscriber identification module. Without SIM, the subscriber cannot be identified, cannot be authenticated. And therefore, it is extremely important that every phone should be equipped with some kind of SIM, whether it is a physical SIM or it is a eSIM. It has to be a SIM. Without SIM, no phone can be configured, and there will be a lot of security issues, and therefore we need to have SIMs within every phone. Now we have got eSIM, which is digital. You don't have to put a physical SIM inside. And Apple's phones, recently the iPhone Air has been launched without any physical SIM. It's all eSIM, right? Because the thickness is so thin that you can't even host a physical SIM there in that phone, right? So now we have to talk about RF chain basics. Now this is important because every phone will have a RF chain to process the signal which is being received on the antenna. So let me show you the diagram, a simplified chain of a smartphone. So you have an antenna, then you have a filter, then we have an amplifier, then we have the ADC mixer, and then we have the baseband processor. Now, functionality of these components which are hosted on a phone is captured here down below. Antenna is capturing the RF signal, filters is removing noise, amplifier boosts the signal, and ADC mixture convert the signal, which is the RF signal, into digital signal, and baseband processor decodes and process data. So these are the functionality of this path. Now, friends, what happens is that every SIM has to have a separate RF chain. So let's say if you have two SIM, then you have to have two separate RF chain, which I show here. You see, simplified RF chain in a smartphone dual SIM. So you have got SIM 1 and you have got SIM 2. Now the problem that we face, friends, is that when you are having this multiple SIM RF phone, some multiple SIM, embedded into a phone, then you need to have this set of components, which is called an RF chain, for each and every SIM, so that the network can be processed separately. So you must be having two different phones or two different connections, maybe one from Reliance Jio, another from Bharti, or two connections from Bharti. So every phone which is having multiple SIMs has to treat that connection as separately and has to process using this RF chain. And if you have multiple SIMs, then this RF chain numbers increase and your phone will become extremely complex and it will be very difficult to manage. So the cost of the device will be very, very hard to manage, and it will become very costly. So why multiple SIMs needs multiple RF chain? Because we need, each SIM must listen to its own network. Different networks will have different frequencies, and therefore they need separate RF chain. More the RF chain, higher the cost, bulky, and it may drain battery. And you can't really switch between these two RF chains, because multiplexing for using one single. Let's say if you have only one RF chain, and let's say if you have got two different SIMs, Somebody may be thinking that, I can use this two different SIMs to talk to the same RF chain. It does not happen, because then you have to do multiplexing, and multiplexing is going to become extremely difficult, because you may be talking to somebody, and then from the different other connections, somebody might be trying to reach you, and the network will be completely, this RF chain will be completely blocked. And therefore, neither you will be able to receive any call or any SMS. Okay. Why one RF chain can't be shared? This is the point. Phone must always monitor paging signal, calls, SMS, time sharing of one chain, missed call, poor reliability, and 3GPP standard supports only two active SIMs. Now, there is one more complexity, friends, which we need to understand here, which is about MIMO. Now, MIMO does what? MIMO is multiple antennas hosted in the smartphone to receive signal from two different paths. Signal may be traveling in the same frequency band. Let's say if you have a base station here and the base station is transmitting like this, then what happens is that when you have a phone here listening to the base station, which is transmitting from here, right, let's say, then what happens is that because this path on which the phone or the base station is transmitting to the phone may suffer from fading, may have certain issues. Therefore, what you do is that you transmit, using two different paths, and therefore your phone will have two different antennas to receive these two different paths, and therefore this is called MIMO. Now, MIMO can only work when both the antennas are being fed into two different RF chain. If you are going to combine the signal receiving from both the antennas into one single RF chain, then the benefit of MIMO is going to disappear. And that adds further complexity. And therefore, if you have MIMO, if you have 2 into 2 MIMO, 4 into 4 MIMO, imagine the number of RF chains that are going to be required in the phone. And that's why you don't see phones with multiple MIMO. 4 into 4 is difficult. It becomes very, very costly. And then on top of it, if you have multiple SIMs, right, imagine the kind of problems that we are going to create for ourselves and how the phones are going to become too overwhelmingly difficult to manage. And that's why, friends, the world is moving to chips which are very, very small, right? We had 28 nanometer, then we have got lower nanometer, 7 nanometer, then we are talking about 4 nanometer. So the reason the chips are becoming very, very thin, because these RF chains, the multiple RF chains, which you have to deploy in the phone, which will increase the complexity of the phone and make the phone bulkier, is not going to be consumer friendly. And therefore, in order to make sure that the device size remains the same, you have to reduce the size of these components, and because you need multiple such RF chain, right? So that adds to the complexity and real state battery limits. So we need to have the phone which are already crowded with so many components, CPU, camera, sensors. RF chain will consume space and heat. More RF chain means less room for battery and impact on shorter standby and faster drain. So conclusion is that though eSIMs are software programmable, it does, just because it is software programmable, you can't have multiple SIMs in the same smartphone working simultaneously. You could, let's say an Apple phone can be programmed with multiple eSIMs. You can have 6 or 7 eSIMs programmed, but only 2 can work simultaneously, even though you can program it for different operators. Let's say if you are going outside the country and you're roaming to a different network operator, you can have their eSIMs programmed in your phone. So as soon as you land there, you can start using your phone. However, you can only use 2 SIMs at a time. So your 2 networks at a time because of this problem of RF chain. SIM limit is set by RF chain constraint. More SIMs impractical for cost, size, and power. And that's why phones stop at 2 active SIMs. So that's all, friend. In this video, I thought of giving a very short overview or short understanding as to why we stop at 2 SIMs. We don't have multiple SIMs in our phones. Thank you for your listening till the end, and I'll come back with a new video and a new topic next time. Thank you very much, friends.